Hello and welcome to Camp Xbox. I'm a massive fan of Official Xbox Magazine. It was an incredible source of Xbox information back in the day. I also found their reviews to be solid, and they did not hold back criticism on exclusives. They could be harsh, and during their run, they were sparingly handing out 10s. They actually handed out none for the original Xbox, with the closest being a 9.9 for Splinter Cell Chaos Theory. Yet the US edition did hand out 11 total perfect scores in its run, and today I have them all listed for you. I'm going to talk about their review along with my feelings on the game as well. Before we get into this, I'd like to thank my YouTube channel members for their support, and let's go ahead and hop into this one. Official Xbox Magazine started its run with the launch of the Xbox in November 2001. Yet for its first 10 out of 10 game, it wouldn't come till almost 5 years later, with the closest it ever came being that 9.9. Yet in April 2006, they gave Fight Night Round 3 on the 360 a perfect score. What an interesting way to start this list. The rest of this video is full of classics, yet they gave their first 10 to a sports title, which, looking back in history, I don't see this entry getting brought up quite as much. Though I have played this game before, and I remember it being quite good. So I played it again for this video, and it's a great early boxing game for the 360. I wouldn't call it perfect, but I could see why in 2006 OXM was so impressed by it. When we transitioned into the 7th generation, a common desire was to strip back the game approach, meaning we wanted realism, and that often meant removing elements for your heads-up display. You saw many games keep the screen clear of health bars, and Round 3 does just that. There is no damage meter, stamina, or health. It's just you out there hitting and blocking with some announcers. Doing so allows for the excellent graphics in 2006 to show up on full display, and I have to agree, it leads to a fantastic experience. You enter the ring and you use your right stick to punch, utilizing a combination of buttons to block, lean, or execute body shots. It's not arcadey. You can't just hit and hope to win. You have to block, you have to conserve energy, and you have to counter after your opponent misses. Timing is key here, and though there is no stamina bar, if you keep missing or taking hits, you'll notice that you'll become slower. Punches won't land as much, and it's about watching everything going on. It led to some of the most fun I've ever had playing a boxing game, and I played a ton of it. It helps that the career mode, though simple, has a good amount to give you. There are other game modes and a great character creator, yet another huge plus was just how incredible this game looked for its time. There were good-looking 360 games in its first year, yet not a lot pushed the console in the way shown here. Animations are smooth, but it's the bodies that are great. Full of detail and sweat, it's crazy what they pull off here. Things like rippling skin from hits and the physics of falling. In 2006, this was crazy stuff, and it felt like a true next-generation experience. I do think a perfect score is a lot, and is the one on today's list that feels like it was a score based on the time period it came out in. Mainly here because of how shocking it would be to move from the original Xbox to this. So it's one I can't say I totally agree with, but in 2006 it made sense, and it made for an extremely interesting game to start off this list with. Yet I will say the next game makes a whole lot of sense.
Big punch could be the end. Oh, he's in a world of trouble now. You can see the hurt in his eyes.
In its holiday 2006 issue, OXM would give Gears of War its second perfect score. I remember this time period, and Gears of War felt like a revelation in gaming, being what many were looking forward to from 7th generation games. A hyper-violent, great-looking, and fast-shooting shooter that felt like the best elements of gaming wrapped up into one sleek package. OXM would describe this game as rhythmic and would talk about the frantic action of the game. They described the game as gray and bleak, though not demeaning in any way. It perfectly captured the feeling of war. In the end, they would call it the Xbox 360's killer app and would have multiplayer that would keep people around for months. And this would be true, as this game would take away Halo 2's title of most played Xbox Live game at that time. I do believe Gears is one of the killer apps of the Xbox and was something the console needed early on in its run. An Xbox Live staple that could encourage people from the original Xbox to upgrade their console to play it on. I think on those merits alone, it's easy to see why it got a a perfect score looking back in 2006. I still agree though that this is a fantastic game to this day. If it means anything, this game has been released multiple times and still retains quite a bit of staying power to this day. The cover-based shooting is a mix of heaviness and reactiveness that feels unique to Gears. Running is forceful, but enemies are smart and try to flank you constantly. Mix that with the overall horror atmosphere and incredible music for this game, and you have something that is just as tense as it is fun. It's a game I've talked about a lot recently, it seems, and it's one I keep returning to, and it helped me gain an even deeper appreciation for it. In its review, OXM does give it one negative, that being that it doesn't give you enough lore as compared to Halo. Yet personally, I find that to be a strength. It gives you enough of the world and lets you settle in it, but never lets you take a break. It's relentlessly action-focused. It never gives you a dull moment, and this lack of slowness gives this game a memorable pace. And personally, it got me interested in looking at the lore through things like the books. Gears does a lot of things right, and it's one that I love and I'm always happy to bring up. This was an excellent choice for a 10 from OXM, and I believe history has upheld this score. The next time we would see a 10 from OXM would actually be 2 in the same issue. The first one would be Bioshock, which was reviewed in November 2007. This is a first-person shooter set in the rich world of Rapture. After a plane crash, you discover this underwater world filled with splicers that will try to kill you with every step you take. As you move along, you find out more about this world and take on some incredible shooter combat. Playing this game around launch after a friend's recommendation blew me away back in the day. I, much like OXM, love this game. As they put it, it is one of the most well thought out and masterfully crafted games we've had the pleasure of playing in a very long time. I feel that public opinion isn't as high for this series as it was back in the day, but this first game to me is still one that I cherish and replay every few years. What makes this game work so well is the world you explore. Rapture is a winding and weaving place, all with a cohesive theme, yet it's so much fun to explore. It does something I love in gaming, where it takes place in small open maps. It's explorative, but still small enough to capture detail throughout. There's always something to look at and new things to find that get you deeper and deeper into the game. You get great bits of lore explained through audio logs, a gaming cliche that grew tired through the next generation, but I still find Bioshock is one of the best to ever handle audio logs. Throw in that there is so much to the shooting gameplay. You get a large mix of weapons, which you can level up as you move on. You take pictures of splicers in action to level up your powers. You mix these guns with your plasmids that give you fun effects, like shooting out ice or fire. There's a great choice between all of these plasmids, and it feels like you have a lot of options whenever getting into action sequences. It all has a smoothness and entertainment factor that in 2007 felt like it was pushing gaming to another level. It worked with some brilliant level design to make for a game with an amazing vision and pulls it off seamlessly. With an amazing story and a great twist, it's an iconic game, and I understand why this one got a perfect score, and it's one that I have to agree with. I could replay this one and still get a great time out of it. It's one of the best put together experiences out there. I'm still a fan of this series, and it's one I can easily recommend to anyone who's never tried it. It's well worth checking out. In the same issue, OXM would give Halo 3 a 10 out of 10, the first and only time they would provide a Halo game with that score. OXM would call this game the most important Xbox 360 game, the reason people bought the console and an HD TV, and I couldn't agree more. This was a hotly anticipated game, and I remember it in 2007. This game was insanely huge. OXM would give high ratings to Xbox exclusives, and they were always a bit skittish with 10s, especially in the beginning. As they put it in this issue, they didn't want to look like they owed anything to anyone. Yet they felt that Bungie had set the bar so high after the anticlimax that was Halo 2 and crammed so much amazing content into one game that it deserved the 10. While reading through this review today, I'm reminded how much was put into Halo 3 and how much of it was not only great, but it was revolutionary. Barring an incredible story and multiplayer, you had an incredible map creator with Forge, and I know many like myself spent hours playing in it. You also had a theater mode that let you watch insane recaps of full games that you played, something that is still hard to find replicated in multiplayer gaming today. It's there, but not as much as you'd like. And amazing unlockables like the skulls that allow you to replay the campaign in new in different ways. The campaign itself was a revelation, and I played through it again recently, and I still love the campaign. This Halo is all from the perspective of Master Chief, and you roll through some huge arenas, giant battlegrounds, and huge areas for your vehicles. It still surprises me the scope that this game is able to capture. It's all gorgeous for 2007 too, with incredible lighting, and that opening jungle level is a highlight. It's one of those early 7th generation games that captured that feeling of what a next generation game should feel like, upping the scale and beauty while still retaining an amazing journey. Throw in an absolutely incredible multiplayer mode with a large number of weapons and maps. Some of the most iconic maps in the series appear here, and many of the great features from Halo 2 are retained with even more new elements. It was a game that was hard to put down. I spent hours and hours in Xbox Live parties playing multiplayer with friends, and those were truly some amazing times. There is so much I could go into with this game. There's a lot in the nitty-gritty, but I want to keep it brief for this video. I do truly agree with this 10 out of 10 score, and it's one that everyone should play before they die. 2007 was the year of the 10s, and this isn't even the last one. It truly was one of the greatest years in gaming history. In December, OXM would give Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare a perfect score. It might be surprising to hear a Call of Duty game receiving this award nowadays if you weren't there, but this game truly changed the landscape of shooters and was an amazing game in 2007. I had never played a Call of Duty game prior to this one, but after a session at a friend's place, I had to get this game. It was an incredible shooter. In OXM's review, they say that Call of Duty 2 was very good, but Infinity Ward changed the formula and made a game that was full of awesome moments and a robust multiplayer, saying it did everything right and nothing wrong. This entry took the World War II franchise and pushed it forward into the modern era. With that came notable characters and an interesting narrative. You play as Soap, and you have one of gaming's most iconic characters in my eyes, Captain Price, who I quote all the time, along with a whole group of notable people. The campaign of this game is full of great level design and offers a surprising amount of variety for a game like this. The most notable benefit is the level where you sneak in the ghillie suit, hiding under people as you go on your sniper mission. At that time, I had never played anything quite like that level. Also, that opening level on the ship is an incredible start to a game full of motion and weather effects. It's a huge action set piece, and that's what this game's campaign feels like. A collection of great action scenes across different types of movies, but compiled in a thoughtful way, allowing itself to never grow stale. Not only that, but this multiplayer and Halo 3 coming out so close to each other was incredible for Xbox Live. Years of gameplay just from these two games, and there was something about Modern Warfare that I felt like was a step outside of simplistic multiplayer. It had a great leveling system and allowed you to customize your own preferred classes. It made online play here feel personal, and every upgrade was fun to try out. From 2007 to 2008, I was into the online multiplayer of this game, and looking back on it, I made so many friends just by playing it, and there were so many fun lobbies, along with some excellent maps to play in. These are maps that I think still hold up as some of the best to this day. For its time, this game changed so much, and I think that fact is easy to forget whenever you look at Call of Duty now, where it feels like it's repeated itself to diminishing returns. Yet, from the perspective of the past, it's easy to see how much this stood out, and I still think it's an awesome game to return to. Replaying it for this video was a delight, and I might have to jump back in. This was a great one. The final perfect score of 2007 went to Mass Effect in the holiday issue. Multiple months in a row where OXM just handed out 10s, and they even brought it up, but they called it the best stretch of video game releases ever, and looking back, that argument still can be made. This game took everything BioWare had done great with Knights of the Old Republic and Jade Empire and created a sci-fi masterpiece that was revolutionary for the time. I have no shame in hyping this one up because this is a brilliant game and is one of my favorite gaming franchises ever. What keeps this game still strong in my mind is the plot, which OXM says was the greatest video game story ever told. The story of Commander Shepard is a huge science fiction journey with incredible lore. There are some games that layer on lore, but it flies right over your head. Here, reading about aliens and the different futuristic technology all throughout the codex is so well written. It's interesting to dive into every time. The amount of dialogue trees in this game was intense for the time, with branching dialogues and choice choices that affected relationships. It was awesome to talk to each character in between missions, and it always had depth and scale that was deeper than anything I had seen at this point. It's these choices that would affect the game and later ones. Funny enough, OXM questions in their review if their choices and your characters would actually make it into Mass Effect 2, which they did, and that game handled that very well. There are so many side missions to explore, which level you up with a large amount of talent trees, not only for you, but your squad you bring along with you. The many different classes you can play as with different powers made combat dynamic. Though it is a third-person shooter, the way you could slow down time and change combat easily made it feel fresh. Your skills changed the whole game, and it felt like a true RPG experience in an amazing new world. Mass Effect to me is something special and feels the largest of the trilogy. Just look at the main city of the Citadel, full of side quests, people, and alleyways to get lost in. This was BioWare putting everything they could into a game with a giant budget, creating a deep RPG that had a great story. It was revolutionary for the Xbox, and though it did release on other consoles later, this was the only place you could play it at launch, making for an Xbox 360 only RPG that the system needed. If you got this, Halo 3, Bioshock, and Modern Warfare at release, you were in for an amazing time, and you wouldn't need much more. The first Mass Effect is something special and a well-deserved entry on today's list. In December 2008, OXM handed out another perfect score for Fallout 3. This Bethesda RPG was the third numbered entry in the Fallout franchise, mostly known for PC releases. The first two entries were two computer RPG staples, but in 2008, I knew little about them. This was my first entry in the franchise. I did quickly go back and I bought both of them after playing through this one. And if you know me, Fallout 3 is one of my all-time favorites. If you follow me on Backlogged, I put this one into my all-time favorites, and I feel like my top 10 is always changing, but Fallout 3 will always be there. This is everything I want in an RPG, and I replay this game often. I love Fallout 3 and agree with this 10. OXM though, when they gave it a 10, they actually said it wasn't perfect. They did have some quibbles, but it was an insanely worthwhile experience, and they considered it a huge improvement over Oblivion. Something that I do agree with. It does a really great job of making use of the fun perk system of Fallout. The customization and world in this game have a life to it that brings so much to the Capital Wasteland. You have a huge mix of weapons along with some weird ones. The karma choices around the wasteland change the game, and there's plenty of off-the-road locations to explore. As with the Scrolls games, I love the areas and quests off the beaten path that allow you to look around and see the sights and build up this world. There is a mix of side quests, but they're not small or meaningless. Many of them have choices that give you multiple outcomes that build upon that RPG feeling. Personally, I love the story, which involves you leaving a vault in search of your father. You unravel his lies, but you learn of his mission to clean the water of the wasteland. You go on a gigantic mission to bring his vision to life. It doesn't have the jokey tone of Fallout 2 or New Vegas, but I think the depressing nature of the game's story can be alleviated in some of its side quests. Mix that with plenty of odd dialogue trees and choices that make for a plot that is great to follow. The combat feels the most shallow of the bunch because you can't aim down your sights, but with VATS, it's not much of a worry. Watching the carnage you put on enemies in slow motion is always fun to watch. The different enemy types help keep it all varied, and it leads to a world that is interesting to explore. Fallout 3 is an RPG experience that I love, and we've seen plenty of RPGs on today's list. I think this era perfected the Western role-playing game experience so well, and the 360 was a great place for it. Fallout 3 is one of my all-time favorites.
You're gonna die!
For the next few years, there would be no more perfect scores handed out until the end of 2011. The first one of the year would go to Gears of War 3 in September. This was the end of the trilogy for Gears and was quite a send-off for the franchise. OXM would say the story was rich and full of incredible set pieces. They also said the different multiplayer modes were fantastic. They also praised the 3D, which I had forgotten that was a part of this game. Yet, in a funny note, they asked Microsoft if they could keep this franchise an Xbox exclusive, negative, which we all know how that went. I'm surprised this one in particular got a 10. It is a fantastic game, but I wouldn't personally put it in the pantheon of greats like the rest. It is a well-written review, and I know many will agree with this perfect score. This entry took everything learned from the past 2 entries and made something gigantic and thoughtful. The set pieces of the franchise are taken to another level in this game, with enormous feeling areas to shoot and kill in. Playing today, this game is surprising to me as a 360 game and shows the progress this era went through visually, where games from the start of the generation look completely different from those at the end. This game is amazing and strips away the gritty look of the franchise and brings in a lot more color. That is to say, it's not gritty, it's still violent as ever and fits the franchise. Where Gears of War 2 did a great job of fleshing out the characters of its first game, this one does it on another level. I feel like the core characters get some awesome arcs, and it does a good job of diving into the lore of the franchise, and it does feel like a great fleshing out of an amazing world. It's fun to follow, and it has some of the most recognizable characters of the Xbox era. The shooting mechanics work well, and the smart AI remain a blast to play with. The multiplayer definitely helps, and I think that's why people love this one, is not only the campaign, but the awesome Horde mode, which got a huge revamp here due to becoming a powerhouse with Gears of War 2, and then there's also the new Beast mode that was added in. There was a lot of content packed into this game, and I could understand why somebody would give this a perfect score. If you were a huge Gears fan, I'm sure this felt like a great encapsulation of the franchise. The following month in October, OXM would give a 10 to Batman Arkham City, the follow-up to Batman Arkham Asylum, which was one of and still is an all-time favorite of mine. This was a greatly anticipated follow-up from Rocksteady. Arkham City took the Asylum gameplay and took it to another level, opening up the world of Arkham to take over Gotham City. Whole buildings and avenues are riddled with enemies and of course riddles too. If there's one thing that OXM took out of this game, it's just how much content exists within it. There are a ton of collectibles, side quests, and combat missions, and it's all top-notch stuff. I picked this one up the night it came out, and I played it for a few weeks on end and loved every moment. At the time, I would have said City was the better game, but I've gone on to grow my appreciation for Arkham Asylum's smaller and detail-filled world. Yet Arkham City is much of the same great thing. Rocksteady captures the world of the comics extremely well, especially with all the villains and even side characters that pop up in this game. We get a ton of lore and fun achievements tied to elements like visiting Calendar Man on every holiday in a year. The voice work here is great, and rest in peace to Kevin Conroy. He really excelled at voicing Batman. It feels like everything is clicking perfectly for a Batman game. The great combat format from the last entry is retained, with the fun swap between different enemies and counter system that it has. Yet it's much more polished here and feels smooth. All of Batman's gadgets come in great use, and his flight is perfected here, something that OXM hyped up heavily in its review. They even question where Rocksteady can go from here, as this gameplay is perfected so well. The world explored here looks excellent, with a ton of little Easter eggs and details. It feels like a game that would take around a decade to get done nowadays, but this was not far from the last Batman game. Playing it for this video was my first time returning to it in a while, and it gave me a great sense of awe upon returning to it. It made me realize just how much I need to go back to this series and maybe give them all full reviews on the channel. A short blurb in a video like this does not do this amazing comic book game justice. Arkham City is fantastic.
You may not want to, but you must. It's a matter of life and death.
The last perfect score of 2011 would go to Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, another one I picked up on launch night in November of 2011. I've said this a lot in this video, but this one was one of the most anticipated games ever at this point, until the next game on today's list. The follow-up to the great Oblivion. It's another one I've put hours and hours into, and it's a bit of a joke now since this game has seen re-release after re-release instead of a new entry. Yet in 2011, this game gave us some huge, open, and easy to get lost in environments that was amazing to lose yourself in for hours on end. Set in Skyrim, the frozen area of Tamriel, you show up as a prisoner ready for execution. Yet after escaping due to a dragon attack, you find out you are dragonborn and can speak the language of the dragons, something that is explored deeply as you move through the main story. But as with many Elder Scrolls games, the fun is everything outside of that. Visiting the different guilds and tackling their storylines, talking to random people in the streets, selling goods around the different stores, and delving in the dungeons. It all comes with a great skill system where you learn skills through using them consistently. It's something that's addictive and wonderfully realized as an RPG. Despite this not being my favorite Elder Scrolls game, it's still a fantastic entry. It's the type of game with such an insane amount of content too, so if you're looking for a game that gives you a lot of bang for your buck, this one's high up there. Skyrim is such a beautiful world to explore with amazing vistas of snowy mountains and the melted snowy patches in between. The stretches of these areas have a unique and great look that mix well together with incredible music. Simply put, Skyrim has one of the all-time greatest game soundtracks ever made. Some of the most beautiful melodies in gaming are here in Skyrim, and it's a soundtrack I have returned to constantly since its release. It's a game with style and beauty, and that's something that cannot be understated. As I write this video, I realize just how right they get some of these. Skyrim, like many others we talk about today, is a game that is greatly remembered even to this day. It makes me realize just how special the 7th generation was and how many classics we got at that time. Capping it off with a game like Skyrim, the end of this era was something remarkable. The hype and build up to this game were deserved, and if somehow you never touch this game, it's a wonderful world to explore. OXM would call it the last great hurrah of the 7th generation, but that wouldn't be the last time they would say that. The final game that OXM would give a perfect score would go to Grand Theft Auto 5, which would come out in September 2013. Another one that I got at midnight, and after this, the only other game I got at midnight was Fallout 4. Grand Theft Auto 5 is a game that's hard to even look back on because it goes on strong to this day, even though 6 is right around the corner. The online mode has kept many players attached to this game, and its staying power is something outstanding and shows the power that Rockstar has to build an open world as great to explore as this one. Here's the thing though, this 10 was just based on the story portion because GTA Online didn't launch till a month after release. Yet I remember being blown away by this game upon release and playing an extreme amount of it. The city in this game in 2013 was amazing for the time. It felt like a next generation game packed into the 360. The city was full of life with a ton of locales, streets, people, and cars constantly around you. It was a busy game with so much to see and do. It's the type of game that I just have fun booting up and walking around the city. No need to do anything else because it's easy to get lost in the huge detailed areas this game gives you. The story is a ton of fun too. Without the heavy amount of drama that Rockstar was putting into more of their games at this time, it goes for more of a comedy angle and it works for this game. It makes all the characters endearing and the plots you follow are fun. Your ability to swap to them at any time helped the pacing of the game, and it felt like it added more and more content for you to enjoy. Each character had a unique and interesting storyline to follow. It was satisfying down to the end of the game. I think the perfect score comes in at the tail of the great 7th generation era. This is what open world gaming was building up to, and it stayed as a pinnacle for the subgenre even to this day. And I don't know if that's more to say about the game's quality itself or the quality of a lot of open world sets. With that said though, this is an awesome open world game, and it's a great way to round out every perfect score official Xbox magazine ever gave a game.
Let's go, Cupcake!
Let me know what your favorite is from today's list. Whether you agree, disagree, everybody's opinion is important, and I love reading all your comments. Be sure to leave a like, it really helps me out in the algorithm. Subscribe to keep up with more retro Xbox content, and be sure to check out my second channel, Camp Extras, for more gaming content. And I want to give a huge shout out to my YouTube channel members. Thank you so much for your support. You really help out the channel, and I'll see you here next time at Camp Xbox.